going on, Triangle Truthers? Welcome back to another rapid review. So today I've got one that when I read these comics I thought it was super cool, and I had to do a video on it because not only am I a fan of the comics, I'm a fan of the TV show that they are based off of. And for anybody who doesn't know what I'm talking about, the Orville. One of my favorite TV shows. I absolutely love it. Seth MacFarlane did a badass job on that show. But not only that, they've segued over and they're doing some comics since the show is on a bit of a hiatus, I think, until Seth is able to get filming figured out and I think bring it to Hulu exclusively. So, but with that said, let's jump a little bit into this. So what they basically do is they kind of give you, everything is done in a two-parter. They give you a story name and it's part one and part two. Kind of like they do with the show. It's like I guess it's kind of their way of giving you the hour that you would see on TV. They do it in two comics. Well, the most recent one that I got was called Digression 1 and 2. And the reason why this one for me was so interesting is because it literally was a tie-in or a fill-in to one of the big episodes in the show. And what it was is, for anybody who has watched it, the final two episodes of season 2 had to do with Kelly went. They were doing an experiment with this device, and they said it could do like time travel, so to speak. And what it ended up happening was it brought Commander Kelly Grayson, from 7 years in the past up to the present. And in the first part of the episode, it's, she's there, they're trying to figure out how can they send her back and whatnot. And the time period she's from it was the day after she had gone on her first date with Ed. And so, but they're trying to figure out how to send her back. They eventually do figure out how, and they say they're going to do a memory wipe, so that way she remembers none of this, and then the timeline can literally just unfold as it would. Well, when they give her the procedure for the mind wipe, it didn't work. So the second day with Ed, she turns down because she remembers everything. She remembers them being divorced, all that pain and this and that, and what had actually happened. So the next episode is the new timeline based on the decision she's made. So where does this comic Digressions fit in? It is literally the fill-in between part 1 and part 2 of the season finale of season 2. So it shows her having remembered all this, but she's kept it a secret all these 7 years. And the changes in the timeline before what happens. So, little background more on season 2. So in season 2, what has happened is, because of her changes, the Orville crew doesn't get together. The Kalon, Isaac on the show, doesn't meet the doctor and have that relationship with her and her kids, which is what helps them defeat the Kalon when they do the invasion thing that they did earlier in the season. So in this timeline, the Kalon have actually just pretty much destroyed the Union and are running rampant around the entire galaxy, slowly but surely trying to eliminate the less inferior species, as they call it, all biological life forms. So, like I said, what the two-part comics deal with is that fill-in. Kelly goes back. She does remember what's going on, what happened, but you see a little more of the new timeline. So, like, you find out Ed never actually makes captain of a vessel. He's still kind of struggling with that because of the, being turned down by Kelly. That kind of put him in a funk. Kelly still does well, but again, she's not on the Orville. She's on the USS Jefferson. The Orville crew, for the most part, still has Lamar. It still has the security officer. It still has Bortus and whatnot. But it's a different captain and commander. And the doctor's not on there either. So, and the invasion part with the Kalon has not happened yet. So, but she's still convinced that it's going to happen. And once she finally decides she's going to open up and talk to people about it, she talks to Admiral Halsey and tells him, and by this point, it's already too late in these two-parter comics. The whole thing where Isaac shut down, and that's what caused them to go back to Kalon, you know, have him turn back on, so to speak, and that's the invasion thing. Well, the Orville was already on its way back with him. So she's trying to figure out what can she do to figure this out, or, you know, help the Orville crew, and she tries to contact everybody and tell them about it while they're en route and warn them. And of course, that captain calls her captain, and she of course gets in trouble for this, and she decides she's going to resign from the Union and do her own thing and do what she can to help out and try to save everybody. And this is where you see kind of the plan kind of set into motion. You find out where Ed and I cannot remember the helmsman's name for whatever reason right now, but his best friend that's the helmsman, they are actually on a station, and of course the Kalon are doing an attack and this and that, and they're trying to get everybody off, and you find out how they end up in a Union shuttle out on their own with no food synthesizer and this and that. So it's all these different tie-ins into how that entire thing between episode 1 of the finale and episode 2 takes place. It's kind of like a 1.5 is the best way to put it. And you find out how Kelly comes back, and she basically, in her mind, what she needs to do is get the actual original crew back together on the Orville. That's how everything takes place in the episode. And they basically leave you with, she's able to find Dr. Claire, Lamar, and I think Ciel is the name of the security officer. I could be wrong. Like I said, I'm having trouble remembering names for whatever reason right now. So she's at least got them, and they've got this borrowed ship, and they're basically trying to find Ed and his buddy. That's basically what they're doing, and then that's where the book ends. Is once they get everything, they get away from a station and a Kalon attack, and then it says to be continued in that. Like I said, it was really cool because it was one of those nice gap fillers, because when you go from episode 1 to episode 2 of this whole little tie-in, at first it took me a second to figure out what was going on and whatnot. You know, I didn't realize that what they were showing was how the timeline had immediately changed and what they were going through. So, and then once I did, I was like, oh, okay, all right, so something happened, and then they popped Kelly in later in the episode, and that's where you find out, she tells them, you know, the memory wipe didn't work, I remembered everything, and she made the changes. So, it was just one of those great things, and of course, as I've said before, I can read these comics now and completely understand them and grasp them because I've watched the show, so I can hear the actor and actresses' voices in my head. I can hear their personalities, the inflections that they've built into these characters. So the whole book for me is a very immersive experience. While I'm reading it, I literally will zone into it and not hear anything around me because I'm so invested in the stories of each one of these. And as I've said, if you're a big fan of the Orville, read the entire series of comics. Like I said, they're all two-parters. I want to say there's, at this point, I think 5 different stories. And like I said, they're all two-parters. So it's 10 issues that you get to read. And they're all super, super good. And it's these nice little stories that, like I said, if you've seen the show, you'll be able to enjoy them just that much more. And so, yeah. And, of course, amazing artwork. I don't even need to tell you that the stories are great, but amazing artwork. I forgot to mention it, the whole thing. Dark Horse is the one that's printing these out, so kudos to Dark Horse for doing this, and you know, them, and I guess hopefully Seth making an agreement to let this kind of stuff get written out. Anyways, so that's all I've got for this week on the review, guys. Have you read maybe the Digression storyline in the comics, or have you read any of the Orville comics in general, What do you think of them? Let me know in the comments below. As always, please stay safe, stay healthy. I'll catch you guys next time. Later, everybody. Bye.